here, I have 3 questions here that have to pertain with politics. And I'm curious if you could just give me a yes or no answer. I'm not trying to, back you in the corner here. I'm just going to give you 3 questions.
As long as they're not loaded, I'll give you a yes or no.
Okay. Do you support interracial marriage?
Yeah, I don't care about miscegenation at all.
Marriage.
No, I don't support marriage.
And the 19th Amendment.
I would probably do away with the 19th, but let me give you a justification first. It's not because specifically it would limit women from voting. I just think universal suffrage for everybody, male and female, is a really bad idea.
You pick either one. I would like to debate you on either one.
All right, well, let's start with universal suffrage being a good idea.
Okay, so why do you believe there should be, I'm assuming you think there should be qualifiers to vote? Is that
Yeah, like we have right now, like got to be 18, for instance. You agree with that, right?
I mean, I would support it being lower, but sure.
You want 16-year-olds to vote?
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Do you think, by and large, most people are pretty stupid?
Stupid? I would say no, not stupid, no.
Okay, so most 16-year-olds are pretty smart?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Then why do you want them to vote?
Because they could be taxed. I would say anyone under the age, here would be my qualifier.
So if you're 10 and you have a part-time job, you should be able to vote?
Please tell me where someone, a 10-year-old, can work.
Well, let's just assume you're in a state where like a 10-year-old could have a part-time 2-hour job or something. In fact, they can. Now that I think about it, especially in like Chinese restaurants and things like that, they often have kids work the cash register. And I think that that's totally legal at like 10, 11, 12 for them to do that. As long as you're working for family, I think they're actually allowed to do that.
Yeah, for your family.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they should be voters?
100% sure.
So you want 10-year-olds to be able to vote? Now you see why, but now you see why I don't want you to vote. Now you see. Now you see why you voting is a bad idea.
No. I don't believe that someone should have the qualification to pass a certain thing like you. Like we have this for people, and that was not good.
Yeah, no one's talking about taking the vote away from people. We're talking about
black women and white women and etc.
We're not specifically talking about women. We're talking about universal suffrage. So initially in the United States, I don't know if you knew this or not, but you had to be a property owner in order to vote. Most people weren't allowed to vote, male or female. Almost nobody could vote.
That is correct.
And there was actually a pretty good reason for that. The founders did not trust the people to vote. They didn't think it was a very good idea at all. They were afraid that would form political parties, and that's exactly what it did.
I don't think that's a good reason not to allow people to vote, but yeah, that's the way it was.
Well, hang on. I think it is. I think that what that led to was party politics, and it led to power blocks and systems of power blocks, which are basically endorsed almost 100% by lobbying firms and outside lobbying firms. And like almost nobody on Capitol Hill even writes any legislation. It's written by third-party think tanks and lobbyists and NGOs. And it's like, that's a terrible system.
Would that mean that you would be in favor of today people couldn't vote unless they were landowners still?
I think that some type of stakeholder democracy would be good. Maybe public service would be another way that you could attack that.
Gus, what do you think is a great reason?
What?
I was talking to someone in the comments. They tagged me on something. They said it's a great reason. I don't feel like that, right? Because then you have the majority of people, obviously, who have money that get to vote. And you have the poverty level people that have no say in.
But let me give you a counter to that, right? And just a reasonable counter. If you're, let's say that you're a have-not versus a have in this case, you would agree with me the have-nots will almost always outnumber the haves. There's actually nothing stopping the have-nots from voting a redistribution from the haves down to themselves, even if it's not even a case of inequality in income. It's just the case that there's jealousy or something like this. They can actually vote down other people's earned wealth, and they do, and that's a terrible idea, and it shouldn't be allowed.
Representatives who are
the rich will absolutely vote to keep the wealth and not do anything to help the low class and the middle class if they were the only people that could vote.
And money is power.
No, I don't. You didn't actually contend with what I just said. Can
Sure
you
I
contend
can.
with what I just said is that under a system of universal suffrage, people, for instance, like let me tell you how stupid universal suffrage is. People right now can vote to end democracy and the republic universally. That's a terrible. It's a terrible system that would allow you to vote to not be able to vote, and there were safeguards against that by limiting the voting pool to people who had stake in the actual nation. Otherwise, you could theoretically, due to like falling birth rates, you could import, let's say, 100 million immigrants in the next 30 or 40 years or something like this. They could actually vote the entire system out and implement some totalitarian nightmare. It's a terrible idea.
Dog whistle. Yeah. So are you?
How's
saying
that a dog
we're-
whistle? What am I saying here that's incorrect?
Come on, Andrew. You know better than that, Andrew.
All right, he does.
What do you mean?
You know better than that.
What did I say that's incorrect?
Oh, so they can implement. They can have people come here. You know that you're saying the Great Replacement Theory.
No, I'm not even talking about the great replacement theory. I'm pointing out that you could theoretically have, like, let's say, I don't know, that China, their elites got together. And they formed some kind of syndicate to move in enough of a voting bloc to start voting themselves in resources which were actually going to be sent to the CCP, right? They could actually do that under a universal suffrage system. They could begin to slowly entrench their own people who are loyal to the CCP into the United States and actually begin to accrue resources and wealth and just vote it to themselves as long as they had enough of a standard of people there. Like, that's a terrible system. Like, just from the top down, that's bad. That's not a good system. So I think what I would propose would be that you had some type of more limited suffrage system, which would be based on qualifiers of land ownership or perhaps public duty, things like that. Certainly not 18-year-olds voting. That's absurd. You don't even think 18-year-olds should be able to vote or should be able to date 40-year-olds, right? You don't think that they should be able to. You think that they're too immature to do that, right?
Let's not pivot. I was an 18-year-old who just voted in the last election, and I think that I had as much of a voice as someone who was 95.
Yeah, but
years
don't you
old.
think most 18-year-olds are not going to be informed like you, and they're going to make really stupid decisions?
Oh, maybe. I mean,
maybe or yes.
I cannot speak.
Isn't that freedom?
No, listen, first of all, the country's not based around universalized freedom. It's based around limited negative rights, not universal freedom. Where'd you get an idea for universal freedom from?
Isn't that pretty much our motto?
No, it's never been our motto.
Freedom has
Land
never
of the
been
free,
our motto.
home of the brave.
That's not what you said. You said unlimited freedom. It's not unlimited freedom.
Unlimited freedom.
The
at all.
idea here is a constrained government under the idea of negative applied rights.
So, would you agree that a well-informed voter base is a good voter base?
Well, I mean, I think it's better than an uninformed one, sure.
Sure. Then why are the GOP constantly attacking the education?
Yeah, but okay, okay. Well, let's dive right in. So, can you look up the literacy rates and look up the actual education level of the people who leave our education system, even though we spend the most amount of money per child of any education system in the entire world?
And the reason that we have this is actually underfunding of teachers. That's the issue.
Yeah, even though teachers receive the most amount of money from that system. It's the underfunding of teachers.
No, actually, it's the administration.
Actually, it's not the
Like,
administrative
upper
costs.
parts.
Look it
It's
up right
not.
now.
My mom is a teacher.
I don't care if your mom's a
for 20
teacher or
years.
not. Here's the stats.
She's worked in like 4 different states.
It doesn't matter.
All across America.
They get, and I'll give you the stats right now. You're right. It is my claim. Most of the money which pours into the public school system actually goes to the teachers. You can Google it right now yourself. It is true that there's a lot of it which goes to administrative costs, but here's the thing. Why is it in other nations, when they spend way less in teacher salary, they end up with way more educated children? Can't just be the teacher salary here.
It's regulation because they have better regulated education. They have better minimum standards.
No, they don't have better minimum standards. Which nations would you be pointing to that have a better minimum standard? We had no child left behind here. We had all sorts of minimum standards which were put into place.
Terrible.
I agree, it's terrible. But it's not. So it's not minimum standards. There must be
And
something
again,
else
that
happening
was the
here.
GOP.
Yeah, but again, I'm pointing out to you that we have the most bloated education budget in the world and still produce some of the dumbest children around. So this idea that the
money isn't
GOP
exactly spread out evenly.
And so what the
as well.
GOP
That's
does
what
is
they're saying,
this.
underprivileged neighborhoods, people
Yeah.
that live in lower class areas.
Yeah,
get
well, then
lower
tell me why
education fees
Democrats
based on
voted.
property taxes.
Yeah, then tell me why Democrats are so against school vouchers. Because if it's just the case
because
that you're
private
concerned that you can't send your kid to a better financial or a better institution due to finances, well, you could, because you could take the same $40,000 a year that's spent on your child in a normal school, give it to them in a voucher, and then you can send them to the school of your choice. That's the Republicans and GOP trying to get that out there, and Democrats vehemently who are opposed to
Well,
it.
that's a backdoor thing. Let's be honest.
And also privatization.
What do you mean, a
of
backdoor thing?
public vouchers is bad. But you wanted me to name a country that I think would be good. I would say two of them that would be easy would be Denmark and Norway.
Okay, Denmark and Norway. Let's take a look. Tell me what standards they're approaching with their budget that they're able to hit, and then tell me the reason why they're able to hit it when we can't.
All right, give me 1 second here while I get that pulled up.
Yeah,
for you,
go ahead.
okay?
Google it up. But in any case, back to this idea of suffrage, I think it's a very reasoned position to say that universal suffrage itself is not a great idea. There's no reason for you to advocate, for instance, that a 16-year-old should be able to vote, but not a 15-year-old, or a 15-year-old should be able to vote, but not a 14-year-old. What is the difference here in distinction? You're just coming up with arbitrary ages for no good reason. It's not effectively helping with the governing of the nation, that's for sure.